Here we go. This is going to be madness. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening and a warm welcome to the last Red and Blue review of the 2021-22 season. My name is Nick Philpott. I'm your host this evening, but normally at this point, I'd introduce you to the panel. Well, this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the car crash will start. But while I'm waiting for them to come and join me, don't forget, you can always find us on Twitter, YouTube. Ask your smart speaker to play the latest Red and Blue review podcast. The podcast from tonight's show will be up literally minutes after the show. We're on Instagram. Thank you, Tom Clark Samuel. Please like, share, follow, tag and subscribe wherever you can. We want your input. We want your involvement, and we want to grow the Red and Blue review family. So good evening to everybody that's joining us out there. I can see you all come out there now. I'm waiting for my colleagues to join me. But what you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about the Everton game. We will be talking about the Man United game. We will be talking about everything that happened after the game yesterday. And there were some comedy moments from that. And I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I actually stood in with the HF for that last 20 minutes or so. And I'm delighted to say my wingman is here first. Jill Holyoke, welcome, buddy. How are you?
Hello, mate. Yeah, you all right?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. And here comes our superstar producer, Greg Ellis. Ladies and gentlemen, this will go on for a minute, I'm telling you. By the time Nigel brings them all up. Jill, Aaron, you're muted. Good evening, mate. Good morning to you. I hope you're all right, buddy.
Morning.
Morning. And Mitchell Patel will join us again. Ladies and gentlemen, we ain't finished yet. It's normally a four-piece panel, and here they come. Tim Richards, good evening, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, sir. Hello, everyone.
And it's not finished yet. Ian Noble, Mr. Noble, welcome again, my man. How are you?
Very well, Nick. Very well. Good evening, everybody.
Boys, those of you who are worried about the technology, and we were worried about this technology, it's holding up and stacking up really well. Steve Mason, how are you, mate?
Very well, chaps. Good evening, all. How is everyone?
Facebook Live. We're trying to get the entire Red and Blue review panel and team and family on with you tonight. Nigel up in Sunderland, you right, buddy?
Yeah, good, fine.
I bet it was quiet up there over the weekend, wasn't it? Because they're all down here.
Yeah, if you wanted to rob a house, ideal.
Listen, I think that's it for the moment. I'm hoping Lucy will jump on. I'm hoping Teresa might jump on, and a couple of the others for the evening. We've got this whole crew that we wanted to try for one show, and if it dies, we'll bin it off and come back on again with a couple of us later on. But this is actually for Gel's benefit to kick off the show. Now, he has no idea that I'm going to be talking about it. So we're going to start off with news from around the club. He's already got his hand over his mouth emoji. Okay, what's Phil Pott going to do? Okay. Well, Gel, I have some exciting news for you.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, out of Facebook land, you won't be aware that Gel.
Am I going to get triggered?
He does know. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to announce, in case you hadn't heard it, that Jordan Ayew, Crystal Palace, have triggered a one-year extension to his contract.
Oh, fuck me.
And I didn't think Gel knew about it. Okay? He's not expected to announce the deal until obviously the season is over and the transfer window is officially. Gel, your thoughts on Jordan Ayew's new contract, please, mate. And before
that source.
Before you answer, welcome, Teresa. How are you, darling?
New contract.
I must get my camera sorted out.
Yeah, sort your camera out, love. Go on, Jill.
New contract means generally more money, and I'm just I'm amazed. I don't know. I'm going to use an old English word and say flummoxed. I just. Seriously.
Is this a joke?
If you're 25, right, and play football in South London, and you're skinny, right, and you can run fast, you can cross the ball, contact Steve Parish at Crystal Palace Football Club. It's 35 grand or 40 grand a week here for you. Seriously. I have seen dough chucked around by this club. I can't. I am.
You lot are taking the piss, isn't it?
Hey? Don't get me.
I said, is this a joke?
No, did you not know?
It's true.
Oh,
It's
no.
absolutely true.
No.
Absolutely true. He's signed, or he
And this is the thing. Sorry, Nick. And this is the thing, right? Social media, the Crystal Palace social media, they announced this by saying that the club had triggered like something in his contract. I thought they were going to go, oh, he's gone. Then well, I wouldn't celebrate because he's been a player for us. But I am just that's up there with me for Benteke scoring once every, I don't know, whatever he's 4 years or something, whatever goals he scores. So
he scores 3.
I'm amazed.
Well, Paul Bristol, I've seen that. No, I wasn't. Sorry, Mark Callaghan. I saw that. That somebody else mentioned that Decore was at the ground yesterday. Well, if he was, I didn't see him. I've got, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some more news for you. And on a bit of a sadder note, really, and I'm really glad we did something at the ground yesterday, which I'll explain in a second for those that you weren't there. Martin Kelly will depart Crystal Palace after 8 years with the club on the expiry of his contracts in the summer. Kelly joined Palace in the summer of 2014 and has made 148 appearances during his time, helping us to secure 10th place in his first season and scoring the game's only goal in the FA Cup win over Tottenham Hotspur that led to the 2016 final. He leaves as one of the longest serving members of the squad behind Wilfred Zaha and, of course, Joel Ward. So yesterday, for the benefit of those of you who weren't in the stadium yesterday, for the walk around after the game, they actually sung his song. They hadn't announced at the time that he was going to be leaving the club. I nearly said retiring, but he's obviously not retiring. And they sang, "We've Got Kelly," Martin Kelly's song. And I'm so pleased that they did. And with that news that broke shortly after that. Anyway, apart from Jill, who would like to come and comment on the Ayew story first? So, Steve, you go first.
I'm hoping for Gel's sake that maybe they triggered it so they can offload him and get some money as opposed to playing him. I'm going to try and look on the optimistic side.
Well, I mean, I understand your sentiments because they tried. We thought that with Benteke's extension last year. But is that great lump still around? Anybody else want to say anything on?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I've been bigging up Jordan Ayew for a long time on this show. I've been defending him. I've been saying that he contributes a lot to the team, and I still believe that he can and will do in the future. Maybe not as a starter. I don't see him starting ever when everyone's fit. But unlike Gel and Mitchell and others, I'm actually quite pleased with the 1 year extension. I'm delighted, in fact. I think he's a great player. I think he's somebody that will add a lot to our squad next season. You need a player in every position. You need strength and depth. You need people that are happy to sit on the bench for about 6 or 7 games and then come in and work hard for 20 minutes or so. If you watch Premier League week in, week out like I do, that's what you need. And Jordan Ayew will do a job for us next season, trust me.
Therese, your thoughts, please.
I completely agree with Ian. I don't have a problem with Ayew at all. I do think when he's on the pitch, he does work hard and he draws fouls. And he gets fouled. And I can see no problem in him staying. I don't get the Ayew hate, personally.
Mitchell?
Yeah, great player. I would keep him, yeah. Not. This is obviously just check my phone. We aren't keeping Ayew.
We are keeping.
I don't believe that this is even true. There's no point responding to this.
Okay, well, you'll see that we only deal with absolute facts here on the Red and Blue Review. Ladies and gentlemen, this software is holding up wonderfully. Greg, we thought this would never happen, didn't we? We thought this would never happen.
This is the future.
What are you laughing at, Jill?
He's frozen.
Jill, you froze there with the eagle in shot.
Greg just said this is the future.
Very good, Paul Gruber. Very good. Jordan, are you having a laugh? Yeah, there we go.
Are you having a laugh? Has anybody said any hellos to anybody out in the Facebook land?
Hey!
Well, go on,
no, then.
Yeah.
For that tonight, Nick. Get on with it. Get on with the show.
Oh, no. Sorry. No. I didn't hear you, Nick. You just keep cutting out, Nick. I'll just go through it's the usual crowd, really. So Mark Callaghan, Brad Campagnac, hope we're getting better, Brad. Kathy Thompson, Steve Jupp, Tom Clark Samuel, Steve Charler, James Convey, Neil Hawken, that's the name I say very often. Welcome, Neil. Paul Gruber, name I do always. Barry Flint, Colin Squires, he's always here. Andrew Adams.
Yay! Good to see you, mate.
Bristow, Lucy NTB. I know who that is. Gary Fisher, Mark Easton, Joan Wells, Colin Wall. That's an absolute pile of you. Palace Pins. I don't know who that is. Palace Pins. Paul Holden, Georgia Wedge with me when it comes to Daniel Garlick, Davey, Ian Appleby. Yeah, and as you come up, Mark Bushell, Matty Cannon, as you come up, if I haven't said your name, I will say it anyway.
You didn't, Joe, you didn't say David King, and I'm going to give David King a mention because David King says IU offers a lot. We don't have endless money to buy players and have other priorities. Good team player. Well said, David. Come and find me one day. I'll buy you a beer, mate.
I didn't say his name, Ian.
David King.
He's never bought me a beer,
Check
ladies.
shit, get ignored.
Right.
Be a small party.
Right, move on. So yesterday, I had the pleasure, and I haven't got it with me here, but to buy the One More Point fanzine. Chris Lehman, great to meet you yesterday, mate. Anybody that hasn't bought their copy, okay, it's not too late. Just get hold of Chris at, what's his handle again on Twitter? 1more.1, isn't it?
I think so.
At 1more.1, I believe. See if I've got that. There you go. So on screen for Nigel Croucher, you superstar. At 1more.1 is his handle. Get hold of Chris. £2 a copy. It's £3 including postage and packaging. And I'll tell you now, I sat on the train on the way home last night. I went through a couple of the articles, giggling, and also some good content in there as well. I want to make you aware of a couple of bits and pieces because I am going to move on and involve you guys in a minute. But a bit of news came out earlier on from Merseyside Police. Merseyside Police have now concluded their inquiries into an altercation on the pitch following the Everton Crystal Palace game. Yeah, manager, I don't know what he was doing there, on Thursday, 19th of May. Officers have spoken to both men involved, and the opportunity to make a formal complaint or support a prosecution was declined by both parties. Yeah, Jill, go for it, mate.
Okay, I don't really want to talk about that idiot. I mean, he deserved the kicking that he's got. I'm more interested in the lady in the crowd who slapped Anderson. I know that's outrageous. I can't think that I promise you, in all the years I think the only time I've ever seen anything like that is literally when the idiot jumps into the crowd and kicked our idiot. So I'm amazed. I know it was only a slap, but it doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant that it was just a slap. Like if she isn't kicked out the same as the geezer giving it all that at Vieira, I'll just be football's lost. Football's just lost. It just means you can do what you like, and it will take an absolute tragedy, someone bottling a player or just like literally injuring a player to get anything done. It's just ridiculous. I mean, like such a plastic club as well, celebrating staying up. I'm so we need to talk about that game soon. I am so disappointed that we didn't get anything out of that game because that would have just gutted.
Well, we are going to talk about that game in a minute. Aaron, I'm coming to you next. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, homework for you. I would like your best and worst moment, and all of you on the panel, best and worst moments. Asshole doesn't have to be a game or a goal or anything like that. Something connected with Palace this season. Your best and worst moments, okay? And I've got one, and I'm hoping that none of you pick up on it. Aaron.
Yeah, I was just going to say regarding that Everton game, but I know we'll discuss it. Like the way that they celebrated in their pitch. Oh my god! That come at the wrong time, but no, I just wanted to say, regards to them, the way they celebrated, that is absolutely ridiculous. Like I think they should get docked points for that as well. Like, because I can't absolutely say the way they celebrate is like they won like the Champions League. I mean, their net spend out of anyone in the league as well is way higher. But yeah, that was just my point.
But your point on that, Aaron, I'm going to come to you in a minute. Greg, I'm going to come to you after Tim. But I want to pick up on something Aaron just said. Go on, Tim.
No, but excuse me, I was basically going to say the same. I think here you've got a club who has spent £500 million over 5 years celebrating because they just stayed in the league. And getting back to Gel's point about that woman, I completely agree. If that was a bloke that had done that, he would have been kicked out, he'd be in trouble. But unfortunately, since we've moved back, it's patently obvious to me that anything from Liverpool cannot be judged, cannot be criticised, cannot be held to the same account. Hence, Everton will get away with the fair play, or whatever it's called, the finance that the money they've spent. That any other club, look what happened to Derby. So no, I've got no time for Everton. I was so disappointed they stayed up.
Sorry, somebody like Greg, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think I don't want to be like the celebration police. You know, staying in the division is a big deal, and I completely get that. But yeah, with Everton, a team that, to my knowledge, I don't think has ever been relegated outside of the top division. Maybe once, years ago. But realistically, a pitch invasion when you're Everton, it's a bit embarrassing, to be honest. You know, they're a massive team, they're a massive club. And really, I thought the whole thing was a bit sad and pathetic. And to put that into context, their neighbours, they're playing football in a different stratosphere to them. You know, so what's that all about? You know, at the weekend, you know, that they probably will win the Champions League. You know, and you've got your neighbours doing that because they stayed in the division after spending 500 million. You know, for me, I don't necessarily have a problem with the celebrating. It's the running on the pitch, and Gel alluded to it. That only has to be a bottle on the back of a player's head. You know, a moment of madness that could end in a different way. And I think really the only way you stop the running on the pitch. I mean, I get it. It used to happen years ago, and for some reason it's back in fashion. You know, and I understand it, but the world has moved on, and unfortunately, you know, at times we live in a darker place. You know, to be honest, the only way you finish that is if you dock points, and you make an example of it. And I went back thinking, when was the last time people or a team was docked points without it being due to financial irregularities? And I think it's 1990 with Arsenal and Man United, which I think was the first game of the season where they had a massive brawl on the pitch. Now, do you think the Premier League would have the balls to do that, given at that time it wasn't the Premier League?
Right, on that subject, just to let you know that, so I confirm that the police have closed the case. There is no case to answer on both parties, but it must be stressed that the FA haven't started their investigation, so there could still be ramifications for Vieira, and I'm sure there will be some sort of sanction against him, because don't forget, we are only a smaller club. Financial fair play has also raised its ugly head over Everton. So Burnley got relegated yesterday, as we know. Okay, Managerial has pumped so much money into Everton that Burnley and who the other club involved?
Leeds.
Sorry, I beg your pardon. Burnley and Leeds have both written to Everton and the FA questioning their financial fair play, the fact that they're allowed to have, I believe it's just over £100 million over their operating budget. They are currently sitting on £300 million. And for that reason, they've just, coming to you guys right now. I promise you, I'm going to let you all involved in it. I want you all to respond to this, that yes, they all got Burnley got relegated yesterday, but it ain't necessarily over. Joe, you first. Delay.
I was just going to go in. I completely agree. I'd love to see that the Premier League issue points deduction, purely because it's unfair. But as we've, I think it was Sheffield United did it appeal to the Premier League about West Ham, about Carlos Tevez and everything else. I think I'm sure that's what happens, and that was ignored. They won't do it. Well, absolute worst or best case scenario for Leeds and Burnley now will be financial recompense. There'll be some kind of, as in with football most of the time, some underhanded deal where they'll be given a few quid and just told to go away quietly. So nothing surprises me. It's be interesting to see what everyone else thinks, and then after that, I need to come into the chat for the best and worst that you asked. It's got good ones in there.
Nick,
you're on mute.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to get stretched out, isn't it? It will have to be legal, and then legal just will extend it. So I can't see any kind of retribution this season. But they'll also probably hide behind, COVID losses as well. So I think it's a murky world, that sort of FFP, especially over the COVID period. So I can't see anything happening.
Neither can I really.
I think when it comes to Nick, when it comes to a points deduction, it won't be this season for sure. And we've already said the FA haven't started their inquiry yet, and the reason they haven't started their inquiry yet is that they wanted to get this last round of games out of the way, get all the decisions sorted. I think there will be an inquiry. I think they may well find Patrick Vieira. I hope they don't. But if they do, maybe Everton should do the decent thing and say, we'll pay your fine. In terms of the points deduction, they could get dock points, and it would be brilliant, wouldn't it, if they started next season on -3 or something? I think that would be a really good solution. It would stop other clubs' fans doing this, right? And that's what we've got to. That's what we're going to emphasise here. Otherwise, every club thinks, let's celebrate. All our fans can run on the pitch. Now, look, when I was in the ground before the game was really hyped up. That ground was absolutely rocking before kickoff. And then we silenced them by scoring the goals. Half time, you could almost hear a pin drop. And clearly, Frank said something. They went out there. Dali Ali came on half time, did make a bit of a difference. And when they got that first goal back, my goodness me, the crowd really got behind them. And, you think our support's good at home, but that support was something else. Give them credit where it's due. So you can understand how emotions overran. But the only thing that I can't forgive them for is the way they went up to our players and goaded our players. And poor Eze, he was standing there and the bloke's in his face. This is after the third goal with a big blue flare right in front of him. It's just totally outrageous. And other players got slapped. So for that and those reasons, I think they should get dock points.
I want you to cover the Everton game in 30 seconds, please, Ian, because before I do, I want to come to Teresa. Teresa, I actually think it should be Leeds. I hope Andy's in the room. I think Leeds should be docked 6 points just because they're Leeds, okay, and they go down. Your thoughts?
Oh, he's not in the room, but but if you're going to deduct 6-8 points, then maybe that gives Liverpool the win of the Premier League, because Man City did exactly the same and assaulted Aston Villa's goalkeeper.
Very good point.
They're not going to do that. That's the one reason they won't do that to Everton this season, because they would have to deduct 6 points off Man City, and they won't do it.
I think the difference, T, is that was after the game. Everton fans came on during the game. It was 87 minutes were gone. They added 7 minutes of stoppage time on because of it, and then they only played 6 of them, for crying out loud. Patrick Vieira was supposed to have said to the fourth official, this is not safe, I want the players off. And the fourth official was supposed to have said, no, we play on.
Right, okay.
That's the difference for me.
Greg, I want you to finish up on this subject, and then I've got one more thing. Then, Ian, I want you to just do a quick overall on the Everton game. Greg.
Yeah, so I just wanted to. It did come up on screen, but Tom Clark-Samuel mentioned that there might have been a points deduction for Blackpool for invading the pitch. So the precedent is set, isn't it? So what I'd like to understand, anyone watching the show now, is if those points, if it did happen, was it applied in that current season, or was it carried over to the next season? And to wrap that up, personally, I think Man City and Everton should be docked the 8 points, if that's what's been suggested, and start the season. I don't think it will make too much difference to City, but to Everton, that could be in real trouble. Because if the Premier League does do that, that sets the precedent. It's no more running on the pitch. It ends it.
Right, Joe, you have the last word. I really must move on in a minute, guys. Joe.
I don't think there's the Premier League and the Championship and the rest of them. They're separate entities. I'm pretty sure they're separate entities, because when you're part of the Championship, you don't own any part of it. But when you're part of the Premier League, you do own part of it. You can shares in the Premier League, which you then relinquish when you go back out, which is part of parachute payments. So it's a completely different thing. So what they do in the Championship has always been different. But if you remember, we played an ineligible player. I think it was the same year, 10 years ago. We got deductions and we started off because we were. It was 2010. Well, the Sheffield. I'm sure it was the Sheffield Wednesday season. But anyway, that's by the by. I just saw. Paul Bristow's come up with a valid point just very quickly before you move on to cover the game. Ian, he said Jordan Ayew asks, has the red and blue triggered an extension to Gil Holyoke's contract? And to that I say, I like to think I'm reasonably good. I deliver most weeks. In fact, every week.
He does indeed. Right,
and then I get 40 grand for it either. Otherwise, I want more money. I want money.
Draw a line. Right. I have been contacted by Barry Flint on Facebook. Now, Barry is a regular on Grant's Eagles Have Landed page, and he's made me aware of an event that's coming up, and I want you all to be aware of it. And you'll know the reason why when I read this out. He said there's been a charity football match between Crystal Palace and Hartlepool fans arranged. I've got together with Kevin from Hartlepool United, Kevin Moore, to organise a charity match between the two clubs. It will be on Sunday, the 28th of August at Greyfields. Now, Greyfields is up north. So, Nigel, I'm aware Nigel and some of these guys from the northern-based fans are going to be attending it. Enclosure after the match with drinks in the pavilion bar. If anybody wants to donate a raffle prize, he's absolutely desperate for a raffle prize for this event. It would be very much appreciated. All monies raised will be going to the Gemma Lee Foundation, which our club and fans have already generously supported, and hope we continue to do so by backing this game. Let's make this a great occasion and a worthy cause. Entry for the match will be a donation into the bucket. If anybody wants to play in the match, he will have to take names on Grant's page. Okay. Also looking for someone to manage our team and subs on the day. It's a friendly game, but obviously we want to win and give some of the players a great time. If anybody's interested in playing, get hold of Barry Flint over on Grant's page, or get hold of me and I'll pass the message on. Ladies and gentlemen, just so you're aware, an update on the Gemma Lee Foundation. Remember the story when I was doing that bus replacement service one day? I first saw the story and we were on 20 grand. Her foundation was on 20 grand. By the time 2 days later, Palace fans have raised that to over 60 grand, okay, in 48 hours. Astonishing effort. At the moment, it's currently sitting on £93,588. Okay, and it's helping Gemma. It's helping top and bottom of it is keeping Gemma alive. Okay, and it will continue to do so. So if anybody wants to get involved in this football game, get on to Barry or get on to me. I'll help you. If you've got players or you want to donate, or just go on to Gemma's Just Giving page. It's still live. It's still running. Anything that Red and Blue can do to support it, we are here. Barry, if you need anything from me, mate, give me a shout. Okay, I can see your message on screen, buddy. Get hold of it. Get behind it. Support Barry and the lads. Right. Ian Noble, give us a 5-second review of the Everton game, please.
Well, first of all, Barry, I think my playing days are behind me, and looking around on the screen, I think it's the same for most of us. So I don't think any of us will be joining the team. But,
whoa!
Good luck with it all, mate. Seriously, good luck with it all. Okay, so I'll tell you what, it was one of those games up at Everton that afterwards I was reflecting, saying, I was glad I was there. I can say I was there, and it was quite a special night for various reasons, for them especially. They were desperate, absolutely desperate for the points, obviously. And we almost silenced them, it was the epitome of a game of two halves, wasn't it? There's no doubt about it. We came out in the first half, played really well. Mateta with his trademark goal celebration there. Great ball in from Eze. Mateta gets up unmarked, 1-0. And, Palace, really on top throughout the whole of the first half. Maybe could and should have had more goals. I don't know. It's up the other end to us. So sometimes it's very difficult to see, especially from that away end. If you know Goodison Park, it's not the best viewing platform from the away end. And as I said earlier, we silenced them, really. And I think we probably got a bit complacent coming out that second half. I think, no one's actually said that, but a degree of complacency. We stopped doing the simple things. And they needed to get something quickly, and they did. Within 10 minutes, they'd halved the deficit, got one back. It was an opportune strike. The ball was bouncing about, pinging about in the box. We just didn't get it away. When the second goal went in, the bloody roof came off Goodison. I kid you not, it really did. And I'm thinking we were hanging on. I think, well, if we hang on for a point, at least it's a point. It's away from home, but still disappointed when you're 2 up. Of course, some bookmakers pay out, don't they? 2-0. I think Grant Saunders he had a payout at 16-5 for Palace to win, even though of course we didn't. But and then when the third goal goes in, heads go down, and for them, you really would have thought they won the Champions League. The relief was palpable; you could feel it in the stadium. And is it because they're such a big club historically, Everton? They've been out. They haven't been outside the top flight for all this time. Is it because of that the relief was so great? You can only think back, for our own experiences. Sheffield Wednesday, when we drew on that last day, and then before that, Stockport. Blimey, I went on the pitch at Stockport. So I quickly got off again afterwards. I hasten to add, and that was after the game. That wasn't during the game. But we bossed the game really up at Everton, and we did have a chance to make it 3-1. Mateta had a very good chance when the score was 2-1, and he hit it straight at Pickford and made a decent save. So very disappointed. At the end of the game, I got out of there sharpish. I wasn't hanging around. So I didn't really see much of the end bit when the whole pitch was covered, and just got back to our hotel and drowned our sorrows. But it was one of those. Glad I was there, but very disappointed to come away empty-handed for sure.
I was gutted that night. I mean, I think my thoughts are the same as everybody else's on the panel. It was just an awful feeling. Greg, go for it, mate.
Just out of interest, one for the statos out there. When was the last time we were 2-0 up and lost 3-2? I've got a game in my mind, which I think was in the 90s.
I know this because I looked it up afterwards. I know this.
Paul Bristow, what's the answer out in the Facebook land? Mick, how did you feel at the end of that game?
Disappointed, but I didn't actually feel that bad because I was expecting it to come. We knew the kitchen sink was coming. They were fighting for their lives. The stadium was unreal in terms of the sound. So, we were up against it. But if I'm honest, I came away from the end of the game kind of smiling. Go back and have a look at Richarlison's celebration at that third goal. And that's my memory from the back of that game. It was so funny.
Frank Lampard made me laugh when he said that it was the highlight of his career. Blimey, he's won Champions Leagues for crying out loud. What's he talking about?
Can I just say, that guy is an absolute numpty. That is all I've got to say here, mate. Oh.
Right, Tim and Steve. Tim first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think what it does show is what a lucky escape we had not getting Lampard as our manager. When I was one that was particularly keen to get him. But when you think how much money Everton have spent, the resources he's got compared to what Vieira had with us, the job he hasn't basically done is kept them exactly where they were when he took them over. I think he's very overrated. I think he's living off his playing career. And to be fair, I could see him not being at Everton come the close of next season because they'll do nothing next season. They'll be exactly the same. So, yeah, I just look at him and laugh, really.
And you know what? You raise a really good point and well said, mate. Steve?
I echo them sentiments. I was thinking exactly that. earlier today. I think I see a meme on Facebook about Frank Lampard took over a job. I think they was in like 16th or 15th, and he was like, he's done such a sterling job. He's got them like only so many points, and then they're like one place below where we took over originally. It's like, it's brilliant the way it's worded. I was just thinking about the 2-0 up and 3-2. I'm sure I may be wrong. Wasn't a Man United game we was 2-0 up against United? Was it not that one? It must have been a draw then. So I'm sure we was 2-0 up against United at home one season.
That wasn't what I was thinking. Great to answer.
Jill?
The irony is that Everton would have stayed up had we beaten them or had the game been drawn. And I said that before, and they're probably going to stay up because the others won't deliver. You know, they didn't know that at the time, obviously, but they would have stayed in the Premier League if we'd beaten them. It was irrelevant, really, at the end of the day.
Jill, can you keep your eye on the chat as well? Apparently, Mark Callaghan's on fire tonight. I just want to know your thoughts on the Lampard thing.
Well, yeah, I think he took over when they were 16th, and they finished 16th. So I don't really care. I'm just, I would have liked to see them go down. I know I always say that stat, you know, that they've never been out of the first division. Or I don't. They've been relegated for 70 years, something like that. It's a ridiculous stat. I mean, it's only them and Arsenal that have that. So, but yeah, anyone that listen. The other thing is as well is I think that they are going to find not that it's going to matter because they're owned by a billionaire, but I'm sure that they will be fined massively for the financial fair play. I know we drew a line underneath it, but you're talking about was it Chelsea or City was it Chelsea that were excluded from the Champions League for a season for financial fair play,
and then
I think they will come. Yeah, Man City. Yeah, so I just think that they will get a massive fine, and that's it. But yeah, the only other thing is Everton have been so lucky. I don't know if you remember. I think it was about 1987, something like that, when Hans Seggers of Wimbledon dived over the ball, some absolute pea roller of a shot, and they won 1-0 last game of the season, or they were down against Wimbledon, which is so they've got lucky there, and they got. I was so disappointed. At 2-2, this is no joke, I got a really nice computer. And I learned after that Jason punching penalty at Spurs, still going, that goal, to not punch my computer anymore. I punched that laptop, cost me 800 quid. So at 2-2, I turned it off and went to bed. Woke up in the morning, 5 Live. And honestly, it was... 5 Live were like that over Everton. Oh, it's sickening. Yeah, no good for me.
Ladies and gentlemen and Facebook land, in case you don't know what he's referring to there, let me explain to you that Joe Holyoke had the very first ever curved screen computer. It wasn't when he bought it, but it was when it went in the bin. Right, we're coming to your high and low points, okay? Your high and low points, all of you. And I was going to go, Teresa, you're going to go first because it's ladies first in a minute. But before you do, I want to read you one from the chat. Paul Bristow, and mate, you are on fire. His high point, finding our defensive 5 of Guaita, Klein. Listen to this. Guaita, Klein, Anderson, Geehee, and Mitchell. When all 5 of them were on the pitch, we have conceded no goals whatsoever this season. What a stat that is, mate. If you are right, Paul, and I've got no reason to doubt what you've just said, if that is right, that is fantastic. I mean, a brilliant stat. Okay, Teresa Baker, I would like your high point and your low point, and then I'm going to give you mine so you can see what I was actually thinking of when I thought of the question. Go on.
Okay, my high point of the season is obviously us appointing Patrick Vieira. Not only for his reputation, but a nice bit of eye candy to be looking at the side of the pitch.
I thought that.
Rather that Fat Frank. A lot of the Palace ladies agree with me. The low point coming out of Wembley after the FA Cup semi-final and the way that the Chelsea fans were just so hideous. And it took an hour to get from Wembley to the station. There you go.
Well done. I mean, I'm just going to I'll put my little spin on that. At least you got to the station. We got to the station quicker than you lot, but we ended up on the wrong train and ended up going out to Ruislip. Okay, that's all, and we really did. So we had to go all the way back out to come back in again. Right, my high point and low point. Okay, low point has got to be the Brighton last minute goal. Okay, that was that or the Arsenal one, easy one really, and I'm sure most of you are going to pick something similar. My high point is the Palace fan base. Gemma Lee Foundation is my high point. I have always been proud to be a Palace fan. I've always been proud to do what we do here, okay, with you lot, okay, and what we did before, Joe and I did before. I've always thought we were a good vocal team and everything else. But what they did over that course of that weekend and the subsequent relationship they have built up on with the Hartlepool United fans since then, I have never been more proud of my club and you lot, every single one of you out there, okay, than that weekend. 90-odd thousand pounds. That's my high point of the season. Who wants to go next? Hand up. First one. Steve.
I'm going to sound like a bit of a cop-out, but I don't really have a low point. I mean, I want to say not getting to Wembley personally is a low point because it's the first Wembley appearance I've missed since Leicester and Steve Claridge. Well, no, I went to the Leicester and Steve Claridge. So it's literally the only time we've been to Wembley that I've missed. So, but other than that, getting to a semi-final losing to Chelsea, look, it sounds bad and it's obviously gut-wrenching, but you know what? Little old us, you know, with the best of them. So it's not really a low point, but on a personal note, it is. But I think for me, my personal high point, believe it or not, is probably the West Ham v Palace at Selhurst. Although we lost 3-2, I've got to say the atmosphere was like nothing I've witnessed for a very, very long time. It was an amazing night. So even though it was a loss, that for me, that's probably my highlight.
Mitchell, you next.
I'd say that goal against Brighton was the high point where every single player touched the ball. Just an incredible. It's my goal of the season, but it's the epitome of where we are today. You know, we played it all the way through the back. Everyone was calm. Even Joel Ward stepped up and was quite integral. So that's the high point. And I think the low point is literally this evening. I've checked my phone and that report. IU has got a 1-year extension. I thought it was all a piss take. No. And you were like winding me up, but it's actually true. And it has ruined my season. That
Joe's going to be swinging from one of those rafters behind him in a minute. I'm telling you now. Tim Richard, high point and low point for you. I think I know what your high point is.
Well, up until tonight, obviously now my high point is hearing Gel say flummox because that's made my evening. That was brilliant. Other high point, I think going with Wendy to Wembley. I know we lost the semi-final, but that was, you know, coming back from New Zealand to get to semi-final, to get Wendy there was brilliant. Other high point, I know you said one, but just the level of play that Palace do now, the calibre and how far we've come in such a short space of time. My low point is more of a general one, and I've got to say just the level of incompetency in the officials, both VAR and on the pitch. You don't really see it so much when you watch it on telly from 12,000 miles away, but the level of reffing and linesmanship, well, that's what you want to call them, I didn't realise it was quite as poor as it has been.
Okay. I've got to come to Jill now. Greg, I'll come to you after, but Annie and I haven't forgotten you. Jill, your high and low of the season, please. I should have asked him 5 minutes ago.
I'm just okay. So this is going to sound really selfish, and it's not. It's about sitting at Wembley. I don't know if you know. I literally couldn't print my ticket out, so I went to the Wembley, and they printed a ticket out for me. The Wembley box office, and allowed me to go in. I was in the posh seats in the middle, and I sat there, and I was the first person sitting in that stadium. Everyone else was security, and there were people in the boxes and everything, but I was the first person sitting in a seat in that stadium, and I was just sitting there, just chilling. And this really, really nice lady came over called Ruby and bought me a cup of tea, and I sat there, and I just thought, this is magnificent. I'm a Palace fan, and I'm sitting here in the posh seats at Wembley, and in 2 hours' time, it's going to be packed. And no matter what, I'm going to have a great day. And apart from the result, it was a day. And again, it's another, it's a fourth Wembley appearance if you count the trophy back when we beat Everton, ironically 4-1. Do you know what? For me, I'm and again, I'm going to go away from Palace on this because I don't want to just bring it down on it. But fans, I think the fan bases have changed. It's hysterical. It's violent. It's just not a. It's the best game in the world, but it's watching. It's almost like you're watching a car crash in slow mo, and like I said, people are unaccountable for their actions now. They think they can get on a pitch and be abusive to someone, hit someone, be violent for no reason, but be violent in a joyous situation. How bizarre is that? It's almost like you need to see a therapist. Fans are mental. I know we're all mental anyway, but yeah, for me, it's been the downgrade of the football fan. But yeah, no, like I say, there's no low point for me regarding Palace. I think we've had an amazing season, an amazing transformation.
Well said, mate. Well said. Listen, before I move on to the rest of you, I'll just take a pause there for a second. That's something I need to mention. The newest member of our team is young Chloe. Okay, Chloe hasn't been on yet, and she was due on to join us tonight, and she's just put it on the chat. Okay, so I'm not breaking a confidence here. Chloe hasn't joined us this evening because she's been suffering and is suffering for some poor health issues at the moment. Ladies and gentlemen out of Facebook land, hit your heart button like I'm doing right now, okay, in Facebook, and send Chloe our love, your love to them right now. And there they go. I can see them coming through. Chloe, every single one of those is for you. We miss you. We want you on the show bright and healthy next season. You take good care, darling. Right, who's going next? Aaron, you can go next. Sorry, Greg, you're next.
Don't go on, Aaron.
No, go on, Greg. I can't take it away from you.
All right, then. My high point of the season is Jordan Ayew's contract extension.
It's not even funny, though. That's the thing. This isn't even funny.
Actually, do you know what that was?
My low point of the season is Jordan Ayew only got 1 year.
Wait, how'd you cut this guy off?
He's the producer.
My high.
Oh yeah!
Life until I part is Jordan Ayew.
Nigel, 10 out of 10 for that.
That was the highlight of my season, by the way.
Yeah, my highlight of this season, giving up Sundays to produce this show. No, I'm only kidding. The highlight of the season, there's been so many, and to be honest, we're 10 years in the Premier League now, and we're starting to enter in a world where there are people that don't know what the Championship's like, and that they don't understand the relegation dogfight of a Championship battle. So, God, what a time we're living in as a Palace fan. Gel said it, perfectly a moment ago. We're getting to Wembley Cup semi-finals. Patrick Vieira, World Cup winner, as our manager. We've got to understand the expectation of this club 10, 15, 20 years ago is it's not what it is now. I see people chatting for Europe and all this sort of stuff. I'm just grateful that we're in the top 20 teams. But to answer the question, my high point of the season is a player that I'd written off, who I thought was only going to be good enough to lace Alexander Sørloth's boots. Was the rising form of Jean-Philippe Mateta, because he came out of nowhere. Really, I genuinely thought that he was toast, and he really improved, and he obviously kicked up a gear. He scored some really good goals this season. So that my high point is his improvement. If I can have another one as well, is I think that only Liverpool and Chelsea did the double over us, nobody else.
Yeah, good
but
stuff.
other people might have to check that. Low point of the season is Nathan Ferguson. I really feel for the guy. That can't be easy. Coming to a club and basically not playing for 2 years, or coming on as a sub for 15 minutes, and I just hope that he can get fit and can feature in the side. So for me, that's the low point. But again, I agree with Gel that the decline of the fans' behaviour, etc., I think it's not where we need it to be.
Okay, Gil's boyfriend next.
Mate, hey, now, high point for me. I've got a couple. I've got a couple. Mate, just for that slide, I want Nigel to put it out one more time, because I'm coming for you next season. But no, high point for me. I've got two, because I couldn't decide. Number one for me is number one for me is signing Michael Elise. I thought this guy, and watching the way he plays football this season, I think he's been absolutely terrific. Great signing. To think it's a snip for, what was it? I don't know the exact number. £8 million, was it?
Yeah.
I mean, what a snip that's going to be. And number two for me, the high point would be our centre-back partnership this year. I think it's been absolutely terrific. It's changed the way we're playing football defensively and offensively. And I can't, since I've been a Palace fan anyway, I can't remember seeing a defensive partnership like that since I've been going to the ground and been watching game week in, week out. So, yeah, they're my two high points for me. My low points, I think you know this, Nick, and Gel only, but I think it'll have to be the Arsenal game, that last-minute equaliser, because, as you know, I threw my TV remote across the room. It smashed, and it got me a lot of grief with the missus. So, yeah, that'll be my low point for the season.
She phoned me the other day. She never liked you in the first place, so I'm worried about it. So, who else? I know, Ian, I'm leaving you to last for a reason. Okay, is anybody else I've missed? Or are you the last, Ian?
I think I'm the last.
Okay, mate, fill your boots.
Yeah, okay. So, high point. I will go, well, I'll say two, because one's a game and one's sort of a general comment. One, I can't believe nobody has mentioned Manchester City away and winning 2-0 in their own backyard at the home of the champions. And particularly Conor Gallagher's goal, our second goal, that scored in about 85th minute right in front of us, was just unbelievable. Unbelievable, brilliant. So that's the game highlight for me. But I think the general highlight is the fact that we've got such a strong, and we've sort of touched on this, strong strength in depth of the squad. We've almost got a player for every single position now. And I think when you compete in the top half of the Premier League and you want to push on and get the semi-finals and finals of cups, you've got to have players that can play and come in and play in every single position, as cover as well as your first choice. So I think our strength of depth, and when I've looked at our bench on many occasions this season, I'm going, I can't believe that's our bench. It's brilliant. All those players would have got on our first team without any hesitation about 5 years ago, and they're all on our bench. So that's a highlight. Low point, like others have said, I think Brighton at home when we conceded death and Arsenal away were horrible moments, because we didn't just throw away 1 point, we threw away 2 points on each occasion. And we won both those games, then we would have finished quite a bit higher. So yeah, drawing games we should have won earlier in the season as a general comment, probably. And I put Newcastle at home in that same category problem too. There you go.
Ian, I want you to come on to the Man United game in a second. Joe, and I want you to do some highs and lows from the chat, if you'd be so kind. But the one thing that's astonished me out of my entire panel here, okay, my team in front of me, nobody, until Ian just mentioned his goal at Man City, none of you mentioned Conor Gallagher. To me, I mean, he's been the superstar, outstanding player of the season, okay, and none of you have even mentioned him.
Can I say why I think that is? Because I think he's gone off our radar a bit, and we were talking about this yesterday, going up to the game. You know, it seems since he was left out of the semi-final because he was ineligible to play against his parent club. He hasn't quite been the same player. He really hasn't been quite the same player. I'm not saying he's been a bad player. I mean, I thought he played very well yesterday. That was his best game for a long time yesterday, to be fair.
Yeah.
But he hasn't quite been at it in the same way as he was earlier on.
Okay, Jill and then Greg. Jill first.
Matty Cannon on that exact point. He said the biggest high point was signing Conor Gallagher. The lowest point, possibility of not having him next season. Tom Clark Samuel said another highlight: seeing Roy and Ray take Watford down. Mark Callaghan said Callahan said high point. I can't remember. Remind me again. Callaghan, please. Mark, high point. Callahan's new paper round. Callahan, okay. And Matty Cannon again said Mateta was toasted a panic buy that turned out to be a great signing. So let me just go back to the high points, because obviously we've been saying that for so long. Mark's be busy. Really busy now. And again, he said he thought the tea lady at Wembley thought I was Billy No Mates. Actually, mate, I was in such posh seats that they were bringing me drinks. I was one of the only people that never had to go. Spoffy Giff said low point, definitely the Everton loss. That really stung me. And his high point says any games where the holy trinity of Wilf, Eze and Elise are on the pitch at the same time. Yeah, that magnificent diamond that I talked about earlier in the season. Yeah, I mean, that for next season is something so... I look forward to that. I really do. Daniel Garlick said low point is getting beat. Last kick of the game against Leicester, 93, and the high, Hopkins scoring a goal against Sheffield United. So he's, living in the past, said Daniel. But and Mark says high point, Jordan Oyes. But yeah, there's a few more. Come back and Rob Cranfield said high point, learning who we signed last summer. Low point finishing below that lot on the coast. Do you know what? Straight away I saw that yesterday and I just thought, we cannot. I'm sure the only time in 33 years, I think that is, that they finished above us, didn't they? In the year that we beat them. They finished third, we finished sixth. We beat them in the playoffs. They never went up. We did. And that was the only time in 31 years that they finished, apart from this season. Right. Disappointing. And it's a huge chalk up for them for, all these years they've been waiting. And to be honest with you, as much as I don't like them, I don't hate Brighton. But you have to say, whenever they come to us and whenever we go to them, they do play nice football. And to be beating teams like they have been playing, they have been beating. I'm not going to say they deserve to be where they are, but stats ain't going to lie, and they deserve to be where they are. So that's about as good as they're going to get off me. Right. High point. City failed to score against us or beat us. A low point. Brighton equaliser.
Right, Jill. I'm going to Nigel. Can you mute Jill just for a minute? Give him an opportunity. just give him an opportunity to wash his mouth out with soap after what you just said. Okay, and Greg, you're next, mate.
Okay, so I just wanted to touch on Paul Bristow's high point, because this will be applicable for me. Next season, the Elizabeth line will mean 8 minutes from Paddington to Farringdon and then direct to Norwood Junction. So that's going to make my journey very quick. So me and my young family, the quicker way I can get to Selhurst, that I'll take that, and that'd be very good. The Conor Gallagher thing. He's been an immense player, and quite rightly the player of the season. I don't think I mentioned him earlier, mainly because I thought that I think there's been a lot of players that have really played well. Gahey, Anderson, Elise. You know, I feel like it's been a really strong team effort this season. And then, you know, unfortunately, I'm gonna echo Gel's sentiments here. I'm no lover of Brighton, but having them in the Premier League is great. It's 2 games a season. You get to play against, you know, rivals. There do always seem to be pretty good matches. You know, and to be fair, you know, they've been good this season. You know, you can't take it away from them. They have been good. As funny as it is to watch them be rubbish and get relegated, it means you don't get to play against them. So in a lot of ways, I want them to be in the division, just preferably not above Palace.
I think Nick's just gone to let Littler out because she was barking. And he's muted his mic, so we can't hear a word he's saying. Brad, listen, I know you're blowing smoke up my arse, but the high point was meeting me, and the low point, horrible fans at Chelsea. I have to say, and I'm sure I mentioned this before, if people are not doing all that well, I always send messages to people. Never ever really say a lot about it, but for some reason, I've never met Brad before, and I've sent him a few messages just wishing him well because he was at death's door at times. And I got to meet him only a matter of weeks ago, and I had to hurry on my way because very rarely do I get emotional. But we had a massive hug, said hello, and it was the first time I've met him, you know, face to face. I got really emotional, and I had to go to the club shop, but I just thought, no, I can't. You know, it was. Well, we'll have a drink next season, Brad, before a game or a burger or whatever. Possibly a burger, be better. But I appreciate that. It's a lovely message. Thank you, Nick. Mute.
Ian,
Nick.
I'm coming to you now because I want you to do these, please. Competition time, folks, and then I want you to cover off the Man United game.
Okay, so if you remember, a few times this season we've run a competition on Twitter to predict the number of points that we get in any given month. We did it for May. The 4 games, of course, in May were Watford at home, Aston Villa away, Everton away, and Manchester United at home. 7 points is the correct answer. And we had 61 entries, and we had 9 correct answers. So Nigel is going to get me a number between 1 and 9. He's got a little gizmo that he's working on. Away you go, Nigel.
You stole from the 1950s.
And the winner is number
6.
Number 6. And number 6 is Barry Sullivan. So, Barry, I know you follow us on Twitter, mate, and really good that you've won one of our programs that we have left, signed by Sir Steve Coppell. You can choose between the ZDS final against Everton, which we won 4-1 in 1991, or the home game against Blackburn Rovers in 1984, which is significant because that is the first game that Steve Coppell ever managed Crystal Palace Football Club. So well done, Barry. And we'll be messaging you on Twitter to collect your address to send your prize. Well done.
Right, and 2 minutes. So go on. So you wanted to say something?
Yeah, Paul McNamara, you've been talking about high points, came up with a really good point on the chat that Palace players being picked for the England squad.
Oh, yeah.
Paul.
Yeah, good point. How did we forget that?
I know.
There we go.
Right, Ian,
Absolutely.
quick touch on yesterday's game, and then I want to go to talk about yesterday's after game.
Yeah, so the game itself, a little bit disappointing, I thought, having, you know, it was a very poor Manchester United team, wasn't it? I don't know what people felt when they saw the team selection. Most people were pleased that Rak-Saki got a start. They've been screaming for that for a while. Disappointed to see Eze on the bench. Everyone was expecting him to start. Guaita getting his place back in goal, of course. And Joel Ward at centre-back. He filled in there a few weeks ago and did it very well. very dependable, can almost play anywhere across the back four, of course. And I think we started brightly enough, and Manchester United huffed and puffed. Interestingly, they had the majority of the possession, 62%, which is goes against the grain a bit the way we played this season. So we had to play without the ball more, which is a completely different tactic, of course, when you've got possession. But ironically, it was their most celebrated player other than Ronaldo who was on the pitch, Fernandes, who made a terrible error, really, passing it back. Will capitalised on, what was it, 17th minute, something like that. And it wasn't dissimilar to the winner in stoppage time at Southampton, as much as he was central. He had players around him, and he found a low shot right in the corner. Brilliant execution and fantastic finish. And, we never really looked back from that. Manchester United, they knocked on the door a little bit, and I thought we were a little bit lucky, rode our luck at times in the second half especially. But, great to get the win, really good to get the win, and finish the season nicely, I think, for everyone. Put everyone in a good mood for the after-match celebrations, which you're going to cover now, Nick.
Yeah, indeed. Some lovely touches on there yesterday. One of you mentioned that Vieira hugging Joel Ward, who was hugging his child. There was, seeing Wilf. Part of me is thinking, Wilf hasn't signed his contract. He's going to be off. I'm not convinced that he's going to be off, if I'm honest with you. I'll say it now on the show. My belief is something will happen. Something will develop with Wilf over the next few months. It doesn't have to be over the summer, simply because he's got another year on his contract. I know come January you can start talking to other clubs, but look at that face. Does that look like a face of somebody who wants to up sticks and move away? I don't think so. I'm not convinced. I said it 2 years ago. If he didn't sign an extension to his contract, he didn't leave the club at that point, he will retire at Stella's Park. The more I think about it, the more I think it will happen. There was some nice touches. Connor, you could just tell Connor was soaking up every single moment of that pitch walk. Absolutely. You've got a thought goes out to the people that won't be involved. You read of ours next season. I don't suppose he'll be here. You've got to think about Martin Kelly now. We know Joel is coming to the end of his time with us. There's so many people on that pitch that have had, what about our chief executive? I'm not even, Phil Alexander is terrific service to the club. Teflon Phil, as he was called. I tried to get the Teflon thing started in the crowd yesterday, but people didn't know what the hell I was talking about. He took us through 2 administrations. He's done some great work for the club, and he's moving on to pastures new. But it was just a family feel. And the other thing, though, I took that picture yesterday. I took that picture because the reason I wanted to talk about the aftermatch is because also that's actually aimed at you lot that are on the show tonight. It's to do with a family feel. The stands were still very, very busy. You expect quite a few people to go home on the final whistle, and they did. I'm not saying that the ground was full, but the Homesdale was pretty full. The Whitehall, look at that's the Homesdale on about 120 minutes. So that's what it looked like at the end of the game for the players to walk around. It wasn't like that all the way around the stadium. Let's not delude ourselves. But it was very, very. They had a great send off. A lot of the players had never seen that before. Don't forget. Good to see some of the kids on the pitch. There was one little one. I don't know if any of you saw this. If you weren't in the stadium yesterday, you won't know what the hell I'm talking about. You've seen the YouTube clip before where a little boy goes and kicks the ball in the back of the net and the whole stadium goes mental. Well, I think it was it Joel Ward's little boy, 2-year-old little lad, got himself a little rubber ball from somewhere and he dribbled it from the halfway line. And eventually, after about 5 or 6 kicks, it went in the back of the net. Okay, and the Homesdale did its job, and it was just heartwarming. It was just like I'm sounding like a sentimental, like silly old fart, really. This segment was actually dedicated to me. That's why I'm talking, okay, because I want to talk to you lot. Okay, and I'm not talking about to people in Facebook land. I'm talking to the people who do what they do every weekend with me on the show. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, please show some love and appreciation for every one of this panel, and not forgetting the ones that aren't on. Chloe, Lucy, who have I missed, guys? Jim Cannon, of course, who's a regular part of our team. This show goes out every week, okay? We dedicate a lot of our social life to this show, and I wanted to publicly thank each and every one of you the new faces, Mittel, Treasy, you've been with us a while, Steve, Tim, Aaron, your first season with us. Each and every one of you, thank you so much for whatever you do for the show behind the scenes. Jill, thank you for just rocking up a fight the way, doing fuck all for the show. Just being Jill, just being Jill. We can't do this. You are the lifeblood of the show. People like Nigel Croucher and Lucy Usher, Greg Ellis, the producers, they are the backbone of what we do, and we can't do it without them. To the point where pre-show, Steve and Ian have both said they're going to learn how to do it as well, because that way the pressure's off you guys. You do a magnificent.
I said I watch YouTube videos on how to use it, not on going to.
Honestly, I need to make sure that you realise that you're sincerely appreciated by me for everything you do. All I do is I rock up here. Jill, over to you, mate. I'll set it up.
Just quickly, very early on, Quinton Solden said, thoroughly enjoy your pods all season. We'll listen to tonight's pod as I drive home from Montrose to Inverness tomorrow lunchtime. Enjoy the summer, people. And they're the kind of messages that so we get off on, but it really, it's massively appreciated. And you only need to if you do this enough times, you do get recognised as Ian now knows, and Tim, and everyone, and Teresa. If people will come up to you and say thank you for doing what you're doing, and it's a really lovely feeling. I tell you what we do want to do just very quickly is we do occasionally have some special guests on. So it's with thanks that go to the following for our joining our podcast this season. It's John Solarco, who obviously has been on sporadically over the last couple of years. Chris Lehman from the CPFC fanzine, One More Point. I know he was on a little while ago. Also, the most informed person in British football, Kieran Maguire, the Price of Football podcast and books, and he of worldwide television fame. Captain, legend, and all-round good guy, Jim Cannon. There aren't many, to have Jim Cannon on this is probably the equivalent of having maybe Kenny Dalglish on a Liverpool podcast. Jim is a good guy. He is truthful. The statements that he makes come from the heart, and I feel very proud to know him as a person, and also to go out and have have dinner with the guy and just chat football and ask him questions you can't answer. He will answer you truthfully all the time. And then lastly, another legend, arguably our most famous manager ever, and again all round good guy, because on his own admittance, people, he said he was a very dour person, and having talked to other people, we always ask about people that know of other guests and say what they like as a person, and a couple of people said he might be really hard work, but he was absolutely the complete opposite of the two interviews that we did. Obviously myself and Nick did one, and then Ian and Nick did the second one when I was on holiday. But Steve Coppell, for me, was the biggest thing that we could ever get on this podcast. And it was Nick had seen him a few times in Colston around the Indian restaurants, and then his missus Sarah went, "He's over there, Nick. Go and ask him." So it's a special thanks to Sarah for forcing Nick to do that. And then the other thing was as well, bizarrely, in all the podcasts that have been going on much longer than ours, much longer, Nick asked him why he'd never done anything like that, and what his answer was? No one had ever asked me, which is absolutely spectacularly amazing. That of all the podcasts that go on between the Palace fans, and there are many, no one had ever asked him. So it's just that chance meeting, and Sarah went, "Go and ask him." So it was fantastic. Do you want me to go into the chat very quickly, because there is a lot of love in the chat for everyone. Okay, yeah.
I just want to give you some information about what's coming up during the close season while we're not on the air, because we are going to take a break, because that lot there, it looks like a right rose gallery. So what's coming up this season? Fixtures will be announced on the 16th of June at 9 o'clock. Okay, 9 o'clock in the morning. Premier League season begins on the 6th of August, and I've got a confession to make. Team, my little team out there, I won't be around for the first 3 weeks of the season. So over to you lot to bring the new season in, because I will be bronzing my godlike body on a beach somewhere in southern Spain. International breaks, as you can see, 24th of September, November the 30th, and to December the 25th, of course, that's for the World Cup. Premier League season ends on the 28th of May. Cup final on the 26th of February. Oh, EFL Cup final and the FA Cup final on a little bit later this year on the 3rd of June. Thank you. And didn't we have a predictions league to go through before I do a little bit of a wrap up, Nigel? Okay, so we did a little mini predictions league for the last few games of the season, and that's how the Everton away result went. You can move on from that because between us, we got 1 point. Okay, you're supposed to know something about Palace, you bunch of users sods. Okay, Man United at home, who did well there? Middleton again, Ian Noble once again, Lucy, Nige got his, Andrew Adams, and Chloe got her 1 point. Good. I'm glad of it. So what was the overall standings, Nige? Do we have a slide for the overall standings?
Oh, my God. No.
Winning it was Lucy Usher and Ian Noble, joint top. Andrew Adams and Nick Philpottins, joint second place, we'll call that. Then Newbie Mitchell, he ain't done bad there, is he, for his first season? Bit like
4 out of 5 right there. Just didn't get the score.
Okay.
Did I survive relegation by alphabetical order?
Okay. I know that we need to wrap up because I've got one more thing to do before we do. Greg, anybody want to get a last word here? You go first.
Yeah, look, I do. When I first encountered the Red and Blue Review, it was a Facebook live show, and tonight there's 9 people on this show, and there's a producer, and I thank everybody that gets involved in this because it was all those years ago. I just thought it was something so pure and really wholesome, good content of 2 blokes chatting about football, and we must be 4 or 5 seasons later on now. And now it's this. We have software. We have 100 people watching weekly. It's quite mind-blowing to take this idea and to have run with it for these last few years. I've dipped in and out, for family matters and bits and pieces, but the show's kept going and it's only getting better. So I'm really grateful to be part of it. And I thank everybody on the panel, Nick, especially, and Gel, the originators, if you will. But everybody that does tune in and engages, it's great. I'm really, really pleased to be involved with the show. So look, I look forward to next season.
Tim Richards.
And a big thank you to the other halves that let us do it.
Yeah.
It does take a lot of time.
She's standing over the carving knife. I can see her.
Yeah, she's over there. I had to say it.
Yeah. We are lucky because we've got all these. We've got new blood. We are now a new family. Okay, Ian, you come on leaps and bounds in this show, man. You are
leaps and bounds, really.
You have, man. You're hosting now. I remember asking you the first time I asked you on. You said, "Oh, hang on, what's this one for? 12th place."
This is the people that correctly predicted where we're going to finish in the Premier League. Oh, look, I'm on there. My name's on there.
Oh, God. I'm sick of looking at his name.
Insufferable
tonight, mate. I'm cooking on gas.
Okay.
So pessimistic, you lot.
Right, and hang on a minute. And Aaron, I also won the FPL Mini League.
No! I knew you was going to bring it up as well. I've had enough. I'm done. Finished.
I'm never playing a game of pool with you.
I just want to say one thing. Whether it's just because the cameras, there's so many people on, but I look at Aaron and I look at Ian, and it could be like father and son.
Right. Okay. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to wrap up. So these guys here are going to take a well-earned few weeks off.
Oh, who's putting me next to Joe?
What?
Do we get paid for overtime?
No, you don't. You're not getting anything. Okay? Actually, you're coming out for a curry with us in a few weeks' time because we are doing a curry and we are also doing Aaron's event on August the 1st at Gerald's Place. Nigel, thank you for tonight, mate. Well done. So we are going to take a few weeks off. If there is anything massive happening in the transfer window, I have the ability. I know it's quite scary to understand, but Nick Philpott has the ability to jump on his laptop and produce his own show, and I will do it. So I'm leaving these guys alone to have a proper break. Okay. Before I go, I need to thank everybody in Facebook land that's watched, commented, liked, shared, whatever you've done. Thank you for what you do out there, because without it, we don't get any recognition at all. But I'm going to leave you all with one little thought tonight, okay? And I'm going to give you a choice, and this is your choice. Not our first choice, not our second choice, and not even our third choice manager. Favourite to be sacked first. A massive squad overhaul. Change the playing style. We've mastered 2 systems on the pitch. Carefully manage the youth setup, which he's doing. 12th place finish led us to Wembley. A positive goal difference. Patrick Vieira or Fat Frank? Good night, everybody.
Enjoy the summer.
Take care, everyone. God bless.
Good night.
It's cricket time now.
It's cricket time now.